Alrighty, so this is the Pajero, my daily driver. It's in for a bit of work, so I'm just going to go through the cars first. So it's 1994 Mark II, the 2.8 litre engine, which is the 4M40 diesel, and it's a nice one. I really like it. I have you can see there's a little bit of rust here. It seems to wash away. The car is filthy, by the way, but that seems to wash away when you get washing, if you know what I mean. There's a bit of bubbling there. I have new decals for there, new decals for there. Yeah, no, it's a nice one. It's got mega miles on it. It's 38,000 kilometers on it. And it has the more modern, I think they were on the L200s, or maybe it was the Mitsubishi Pajero Sport these wheels came on. But apart from that, it's quite nice. It's got a Momo steering wheel and leather or pleather interior. And in Ireland, crucially, this is a crew cab, which means, I think I've gone through this before with people, the tax system in Ireland is quite crazy for vehicles. So you can have a commercial vehicle which would have just the front two seats, and as such would incur a €333 tax bracket, but you'd have to be business registered to have that. Equally, you can get a crew cab which has the full 5 seats, or can have more than that if it needs to be. And again, that gets the same tax, but has the ability to carry around other people in the car as well. But again, you need to be commercially registered. If this was a private vehicle, you could have your 7 seats that these came with, because they came with 2 in the back. And the tax on it, 2.8, is probably going to be €1,800 per year. So it's 333 versus 1,800 odd. So it's quite a substantial difference in the cost of running. It's pretty good rust wise. I started to notice a bit forming inside these wheel arches at the front. In the last maybe year or so, I noticed that. The back is very good. There is, I believe, a little bit just at the bottom of the pocket here. I undersealed this vehicle about 2 years ago. As I say, you see in the window, the kick plates here have a bit of surface rust. I keep rubbing that back and it comes back. The only way to get them off is to cut this part here off. I've tried from the bottom and it's just not going to work. So that's a bit of a pain to do. I might have to do that. Alternatively, I might just try and wire wheel it on in situ and spray them black in situ. And that's pretty much it. There was a little bit of rust here, yeah, as well. You can just see that a little bit. But I mean, these are kind of small enough things for a vehicle that's in daily use. This is my daily car. Like, it doesn't, it gets used every day of the week. So anyway, the reason it's in getting work done is about 2 weeks ago, we were driving around and I could smell hot coolant, and I started looking for leaks and stuff like that. And I couldn't really find any major leak or anything. So that was a bit concerning, because people who know these 4M40 2.8s will know that they eat head gaskets, or eat heads actually, more than eat head gaskets, quite often. So the reason they're so rare on the roads here is because they kept going through heads, and as such, it became uneconomical to keep them. So anyway, I could start smelling coolant, and I was getting a bit worried, and I had a look and I found that the stock, let me find it here. I actually left it just sitting on the ground. I found that the stock radiator cap it did originally have a little perforated piece here, and that has since degraded and basically fell off as I was pulling it out of the radiator. So last minute kind of ditching effort, I went to the local auto styling shop and I found this here because there was nowhere else that had them in stock. So I found this. Now this is a replica piece, it's not the original, but it's the same 0.9 bar piece, and I had a little temperature gauge on it, probably not to be too exact on that, but however. So I picked that up and I said I'd run it again. It ran pretty well, and then maybe a week or two, or a week later, or maybe 10 days later, I had to go for a drive up north. And I went up north fine. On the way back, it overheated. Well, the temperature gauge inside the cab went past the halfway point and never hit the red, but was just below it. And when I pulled in and turned off the engine, the coolant was indeed bubbling out and into the overflow, so it was moving. So I don't know how severe of an overheat it was. That was about 10 minutes from home, so we let it cool down a little bit and we drove on the next 10 minutes. And then the next day we drove it into town, which is again only 2 minutes or 5 minutes down the road. And what I noticed was in that 5 minutes it was getting to the point where it was overheating. The gauge inside doesn't reflect that too accurately. It does move, but it doesn't reflect how far up it's gone, if you know what I mean. The gauge on the cheapo radiator cap was reflecting it closer to reality, as in the water was getting to boiling point, but it wasn't necessarily too accurate either. So it's very hard to know how far this engine has gone into the red. So that is no good. So what I did was I decided to start off with the easy stuff. So I ordered a water pump, I ordered a thermostat, I ordered a temperature sender, which you can see here is lovely and green, so that might be well worth. And I ordered the radiator. And what I did notice when I ran the engine hot to hot point, I would turn off the engine and I would look at the viscous fan and it would spin for a good 8 seconds after that, which suggests to me that the fluid resistance inside the viscous fan also had failed, and as such it might not be keeping sync with the engine and not giving effective cooling or suction rather of the air as the revs increased, if that makes sense, and the temperature increased. So I ordered a new viscous clutch for the fan as well. So all those parts have yet to arrive, but what I got to do over the last few days was I pulled the drain plug for the entire engine, which is, you'll find that boil right beside the oil filter, just down here. And if you pull that out, you will then be met with a very dense amount of sludge, solid basically, and you will just screw into that with your screwdriver and just work it in. And it's really, now your arms will start to hurt after a while, but you will eventually get right in there, and it's coming out like clay, like it's really, really, really thick. And as soon as you get through into the water jacket, it all just flows out. Well, actually, a correction, it didn't all flow out. It starts coming out, and then I came up here and I popped the cap, and then it really flew. So that suggests to me that there was a good amount of vacuum on the system that caused the water to really, or the coolant to really flush out as soon as the cap was removed, which is not a good thing, because presumably that means then that the head gasket is at fault. But I'm really hoping, fingers crossed, that I can just get away with doing these few bits on it. So what I got the radiator off anyway, So what I did was, after I pulled that drain, I ran, sorry, I go back and keep going back and forth. Once I got that thing, took the hose off here, and I ran the hose, a garden hose of water straight through. And just ran that for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And just in time, because there's a hose ban now in Ireland. But anyway, the other day then, if you can see this, hopefully you can. Let me see if I can turn on a light for you. So then after that, what I did was back here, sorry, you'll see all this other stuff in the way. Back here you'll find these two hoses, and they lead into the heater matrix for behind the dash. So what I did was I tried pulling them up here. I managed to pull one loose, but deformed the pipe a little bit because it's only copper. So my suggestion to anybody else doing this is you actually just pull the pipes from their sources down here, these two areas. So I ended up doing that, and what I found, I ran the hose through that both ways, both directions, again for about 20 minutes, and I wasn't really noticing a whole lot coming out of these, dirt wise and everything, but it was just a good idea to do it. I have to now replace the T-junction that's here because it's brittle plastic, so it can cause issues. Just to bear that in mind. It's a 17mm straight through T, and then there's a 14mm off. So you got 17mm to 17mm, and then the actual T part coming off this way is 14mm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just get an equal, because I can't find a replacement too easily. I think Mitsubishi were telling me it might be in stock in Europe, but most likely it's going to be in stock in Japan, and it's a 6-week wait. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a 14 straight T, so 14, 14 and 14, and I'll be able to clamp these 17s down to 14 extra barbed. So that's that. So I ran all that through. What I did then was, today I took off the radiator, and I took off the water pump, and I took off that viscous fan. So the radiator, I did notice after the week after I could smell the coolant, and I put on the new thing, down here was kind of getting moist. Now, not like it's a week, but over the space of a dry week, it was getting moist, and you can actually see the clay there coming out. There we go, you can see it there. So it was getting moist down the bottom here. So I think the radiator was leaking from this point, but not a whole lot. So I don't know if I can put all my blame and all my hopes and dreams on this being the cause of it. But anyway, that was weeping. And then what I've noticed also, and I don't know what is stock for these, but this core going across here, I think stock is about 36. This core is 32 to 33, depending on which way you read it. And the one that I ordered, the replacement, is 42. So we're going to get a good jump in cooling in just that in itself. This is the water pump is the next thing. I noticed when I pulled this that water pump is quite noisy. So if I can, how will I do this one-handed? Let me see if I can pop it here. No. I can flip the housing and you can hear it. I hope you can hear that. Let me see if I can. No, you can't really hear it when I do it like that, but I hope you could hear that in that video, and that there. So the water pump is quite noisy, even though it is spinning and everything, so that might again not account for much. And then you have your viscous fan, which I can easily spin. Again, not so easy to do. While like that's, well, I say easy could spin. That's there's a resistance, there's a rolling resistance there. But again, there's no red herrings at the moment, which is a bit worrying. There's lots of little things, but there's nothing major that I'm finding. So I am hoping that I'll be able to change out just the radiator, the water pump, as I say, the thermostat, all those bits I mentioned, and I'm hoping then I'm going to run the Jeep for a little bit and see how we get on. I'm hoping that's the solution, because I really don't want to go through replacing a head. I've never done the likes of a head before. I believe it should be fairly straightforward on this, the main thing being that I can hold the tension on the chain the whole way through the job. But anyway, that's let's not go too far down that rabbit hole of thinking for the time being. So hopefully, guys, that was a long video. I hope you found it somewhat interesting. I hope some of you guys that are coming from watching my OM606 build will find a 2.8 straight 4 interesting. I don't think many of you guys will find it interesting, but anyway, it's diesel, so it's in the same kettle of fish, I suppose. Anyway, that's the build, or that's the work that's going to be carried out so far. Very long-winded video. Thanks for watching, and I will update it as soon as my parts arrive and I can start fitting these things. Alright guys, thanks, bye.